So we stayed the night at the beautiful Lloyd Hall Plantation in Cheneyville, Louisiana. Got quite the history. I've done a video here before. I'm just going to show you the grounds quick glimpse to start this video. But there's all the magnolia trees. Big fan of the magnolia. There's the old pots they used to cook down the cane sugar into molasses. But a beautiful property. And we stayed in this was the old cook's house over here. They had it separate from the main building so that if it caught on fire, it wouldn't burn the structure down. So that's where we stayed. And they just put in new air conditioning. I'll show you a quick clip of what it looks like inside there. We already stayed, so it's gonna be a little messy, but we're gonna go explore the day, see where it takes us, and yeah. There's the oaks. Now the old Mr. Lloyd was a little quick briefing over what this place was about. He was a sympathizer for both the Union and the Confederacy. He was playing both sides, a double agent. And the Union Army caught a hold of what he was doing. And they said there was a tree that's no longer here. I believe it was tree that stood right over this way. That may be the base of it right there. But he was actually hung in that tree, tarred and feathered, then hung in that tree. They said the tree that he was hung from is no longer here. But it's quite haunted. There was a Confederate Union soldier that was killed here. Pretty wild. But it's a beautiful place. And inside, one of my other videos from a couple of years ago, you can see the bullet holes and all from the muskets and all. The mini balls are stuck in the wall still. But yeah, we're in the old plantation area. So, a beautiful property now. I was checking out these old pots that they used to cook the cane down in. And over here is on the old grinding wheels. My grandfather said when he was a kid, they had these grinding wheels hooked up to a mule to roll over the cane to secrete the sugar out of and all. So they cook them down in molasses. Anyway, let's move on down the road, see what we can find today. Join me. Ciao, y'all. So leaving the plantation, we're just pulling out of the parkway here, and it's you can see the cane fields. They've been harvested. They're harvested in the fall time, but have not been replanted yet. But that's the cane fields right there, so you can tell this was definitely a sugar plantation back in the day. And we stayed here when they were actually harvesting. After they harvested, they'll burn off the fields. It has a kind of a sweet molasses smell to the smoke. It's kind of wild. First time we came here, I asked Miss Beulah, I said, what were they burning last night? I mean, it had a really weird smell. And she said it was the fields, they burn them off every year. It made sense after she told me what it was. So this here is the old Bayou, and I don't remember the name of this Bayou. Do you, Mrs. Shiv? I don't remember which Bayou this is. But anyway, it's right here, right in front of the plantation. They use it to irrigate and all. You can see the water level is usually a lot higher. When it's springtime, we're in spring now, it'll be a lot more rain, it'll fill on up. I sure is looking for a good old alligator to get off in there and tangle with and give me some good old dinner. You funny. Oh yeah, you funny, baby. Yeah, you see there's some of the pumps. I have pumps periodically through here to use for irrigation and all. Now this bridge here they call a can opener because it's just barely got enough room for a car to pass under. You try going under here in a truck, box truck or something, Oh yeah, you opening a can of sardines. Well, we're pulling on into Cheneyville here, and there's a big microphone. Anyway, Mr. Lloyd Hall is buried here in an unmarked grave, and we did a video on that after he was tarred and feathered and hung from a tree for being a traitor or a double spy, double agent, basically working for the Union and the Confederacy back in the day. And they didn't like that too much, so they made an example of him. Anyway, he's buried here in this town, and this is kind of a small town, not much going on, just an agricultural type town. So about 482 folks call Cheneyville home, and it's 70% black, about 25% white, and the rest mixed race, and a few Latinos. Anyway, it has been dropping in population for the last 40 years significantly from its high population mark of about 1,100 people. So we are making our way on down the highway to the next town of Bunkie. Now, a lot of these towns on US 71 were bypassed by the Interstate 49 when it came through. But a lot of these towns are still thriving and surviving. And some like this kind of dried up once it was bypassed, as you can see by the significant population decrease. Now, the town of Bunkie has roughly 3,300 folks living in it as of current times, and it's dropped off significantly, just like Cheneyville, in the last 40 years, 4 decades, or well, actually about the last 50 years now. But since the 1970s, 1980s. Now, some of that's because of the bypass, Interstate 49. But a lot of it's also due to the practices of the government during the 70s and 80s as far as subsidizing crops and things and causing the American farmer to go out of business, as it was always known, and becoming more commercialized and owned by more corporations and all than the family farmer. And if you remember back in the 80s, Willie Nelson was doing a bunch of those Farm Aid concerts and all, and that was trying to raise money to get money to these folks that were struggling on these family farms. It was a rough time, especially in the 80s, and a lot of family farmers just went out of business, and that's caused a lot of the decrease in population of these agricultural rural towns. So when you're driving around the back roads and come across these small rural towns, sometimes they can be surprisingly awesome, and sometimes they can be surprisingly just hollowed out, and you're like, what happened here? But this one, on a good note, was really a lot more than I expected. It really did a good, nice upkeep of this town. It was inviting. The places I went and visited were awesome. People were awesome. It felt almost like you're in Mayberry. It was a really nice feeling town. Everybody was super polite. The grounds, everything was clean. It wasn't trashy. Whoever's running this town is doing a fantastic job, because it was very inviting. And I can't say that about a lot of towns I go through. This one was fantastic. So especially when I'm going through a town like this that has a railroad track running right next to the major artery of town, there's usually a lot of trash along that railroad track, burned out cars, junk cars and all that kind of stuff. This one didn't have that, and that's really rare. And if you think about it, if you're driving through one of these towns and you see the railroad tracks and all, there's always a lot of trash. People dump stuff, next to the tracks and all. And this one didn't have that, which is almost unheard of. So here is the racial makeup of town. Is 32% white, 61% black, and about 7% other races. And here are a few of the trains sitting at the edge of town. I've always been a big fan of trains. Smack dab in the center of town sits Town Square with a gigantic Old Glory waving her wonderful wings into the egg. So we've toured the main strip of town, the main drag here on 71. Let's check out some of the back streets here and see what else town has to offer. Shall we? Why not? So it looks like quite a few businesses are open, which is something you don't see in all these towns. And quite a few restaurants. Looks like a little grocery store or something. But there you go. I want to check that out in a minute. So yeah, let's take a tour and come back to that. One thing I will say about Louisiana is they do a immaculate job of keeping up with their yards and their properties. The grass is always mowed, and it rains and grows a lot here. And you always see people out mowing and keeping up, and they have pride in what their house looks like, what the yards look like, and that's really impressive. I always like to check out the churches in town, so let's go check out the churches. This one here looks to be the Catholic church in town. Catholic church is usually, most towns I travel through, the Catholic church is usually the most intricate as far as the detail, the stonework, all that stuff. Some of these towns, I'm just blown away by how detailed their churches are for such small towns. Hold up, I'm gonna bust a U-turn. I just saw a abandoned building. It looked like an old hotel. Let's go check this out quick. Check out this old hotel. You say the Alley Hotel?
It's closed.
That's abandoned. It's really kind of cool. The Bailey Hotel looks like. Let's go see what it says over here. Sign.
That is chained up and closed.
That's pretty cool. Jefferson Highway. That's the old Jefferson Highway. It actually runs close to where I live. That's crazy. It runs all the way out here. Goes all the way to Winnipeg from New Orleans. And it runs real close to where I currently live, which is 300 miles from here. That's crazy. Maybe 400 miles. Anyway, Bailey Hotel. 1907, 1909, originally known as the Hostel Ernest. R. Lee Bailey purchased the hotel and renamed it in 1918. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1999. Well, it ain't the Mecca that it used to be. It looks like. It looks like it's been closed for quite a while with the trees growing up like that. Probably at least 10, 20 years. But it's haunted. What do you think? Alright, I saw a little market in town we pulled through. Let's go pick up some stuff for a picnic. See if we can find this little place I saw. Farmer's Market. Yeah. Yard eggs. Need some of those, huh? Need some yard eggs.
Yeah, it's $40. Sweet potatoes, 40 pounds. Good Lord.
Need 40 pounds of yard eggs.
Not really.
Stuffed peppers there, $4.99. Ain't bad. Whole chicken. Well, I like that place, Mr. Chef. I tried to film a little bit in there, but I didn't want him to freak out because I'm in there filming. But got some produce. I'll show you in a minute. But they didn't have any lunch meat. I need some lunch meat. I like this town. They had a lot of good selections of restaurants, it looked like. It's a bigger town than I thought it was. Start going through it. There's an old strip shop, looks like from the 70s. Reminds me of my youth, or like some, a Stranger Things type strip shop,
Yes.
The Video Connections, here's the old video store. Relics of the past. I'm gonna go here and see if I can find some lunch meat for our lunch. Because whatever you do, don't let your meat loaf, folks. Alright, so we're at my daughter's house, and we're having our cheeseburger picnic. Not really, we're having sandwiches. I got all the stuff at that store. Look at that prices. 52 cents or 57 cents. Cantaloupe, 60 cents. Got watermelon over there. Good stuff. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on our adventure today. I hope you subscribe below and join us here tomorrow for another fantastic video. Thanks for watching. See you next time, folks.